Hello, Virgo. Welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Virgo is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment. Consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. If there is anything you would like me to pray over, or meditate upon, or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is going to be a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I might provide. And remember, Virgo, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. And look at that, Six of Cups. This is tranquility. This is a sense of luxury, of pleasure, of really the happiest day you've ever had. I think that you are, you're an optimist. I feel like you are really kind of aiming your life toward these really peak experiences, you know. That what seems to be meaningful to you right now is those moments of absolute connection and bliss and that feeling of community. It's kind of like when you're with your friends or whatever, and you just, for that brief moment, you just kind of look around at everybody and you just can't help but feel blessed, you know? I feel like this is the real win for you. This is the real harmony, and the real, the purpose of life really is to have these kinds of connections. More than money, more than fame, right? You want that connection. You want to feel that love, that sense of community, whether it's with friends or family or your neighbors, you know. There's a certain underlying joy and bliss and tranquility in this kind of a thing. Now, I don't feel that you're necessarily extroverted. I feel that you're rather an introvert, you know, mostly. But I feel that you really do shine when you're in the right circumstances, when you're with those quality people. In that kind of environment, I feel like you really let your true self out, right? But I feel like generally you're kind of reserved. It's kind of like you like to kind of sit back and just observe people and feel good about where you are and what you're doing. Yeah. So I think family is really important to you. I think your close friends are very important to you. I don't feel like you're insanely popular. You have those right quality people in your life. And that is an absolute blessing. Yeah. The Six of Cups is all about finding the right environment for us to express ourselves, right? It's all about that pleasure that we get when we're in the right circumstances and we're with the right people and we're doing the right things, and it just feels good, right? It feels good. Sometimes what feels good is good, you know? Sometimes we feel the opposite, right? Sometimes we think, well, if it feels good, it must be bad for me. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. Sometimes when it really has that deep soul satisfaction, it's kind of, I mean, it really is that infinite here and now, that infinite blessing, that miracle of life in the moment. Yeah. Really, I wish we could just do a reading just with this card, but we've got more to do. So let's see what else we get today. Wheel of Fortune, another circular image, which I think is important. It's about the balancing of life, right? It's not so much, getting locked into one kind of vibe. It's really a holistic life. The Wheel of Fortune, I think, is a jackpot. I think that this is saying that this feeling of yours, this pleasure, whatever it really is for you specifically, I think is going to get better and better and better and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's going to keep expanding, right? The Wheel of Fortune is the very literal way. It's the fortunes are turning. Things are getting better for you. I feel like maybe at a certain point recently, you were kind of at the bottom of the wheel, you know, between the rubber and the road. But I feel like now you're realizing that you're starting to get to the very top. And it's kind of like maybe you never thought your life would be this beautiful and this, you know, pleasurable, this joyful. But here you are, feeling this increase and feeling things getting better and better and better. I feel like in a more esoteric way, this card is about the divine timing. It's about the cycles that we go through in life. And we know that when we're down, we're going to get back up again. We know that when we're up, we might fall down again. We don't always know when that's coming. So I think when we notice a trend towards positivity, we notice a trend towards abundance and increase, right? We notice the trend in the right direction. We need to jump on board. We need to kind of do everything we can to keep it going, right? Knowing that it won't last forever, that there will be kind of another trip around the wheel, until that point that we kind of get off that wheel of Dharma, right? Or we get to the very center of it, at least for a moment, where we even realize, and this is an even more maybe esoteric part of the Wheel of Fortune, that when we're at the center of the wheel, we're not going round and round and round and round. We're at that still point. We are the axle of the wheel. And we can see everything going up and down and up and down and up and down. But we realize that life is maybe a version of life closer to reality is kind of beyond the ups and downs of life. When we get to that certain point, we realize that, what was the phrase? When you get to a certain level, you realize that all of the troubles of life are just weather. You know, it's just the coming and going of the duality in which we live. We get to a certain point, we realize that there's something more real, kind of at the center of that, right? So there's a certain stillness with this card. As much as there is motion, it also implies the stillness of being right in the center of that. And in some ways, it's kind of like the eye of the storm, right? It's very calm in the center, but there's just, life is whirling around outside. But I feel like this is really a life-changing kind of time in your life. You know, I feel like we are on this rise of positivity, of abundance, of prosperity, right? And I feel like in a large part, the success that you're going to experience is due to your positive attitude. You're not this kind of curmudgeon, you know? I feel like you try to see the best in people, and you try to always be generous and help people. Even when you're between the rubber and the road, you still are trying to help others and give to other people and be of service, right, to other people. It really is this positive attitude, and I think that for you to be able to stay positive even in difficult circumstances is one of your very best qualities. Let's keep going. Let's see what's underneath the surface, though. That Ten of Cups, yeah. That Ten of Cups, that we have this experience of the fullness of life. And to have the fullness of life, you got to have both sides of the coin. You got to have all the branches of the tree, right? Not just the ones that have the fruit. Also the ones that are just kind of bare or pokey or sharp, you know. You got to have the thorns, right? You're somebody that appreciates everything in life. And you appreciate, I think you have an appreciation for art generally, right? I think you know a lot about art. I think you look at art, you like it. You know some things about it. I don't know really anything about art, I'll be honest with you. The visual arts, I guess I should say. But I feel like you have an intense appreciation for all forms of art, for all forms of life even, yeah. Even in the what might be the darker or more shadowy aspects of life. I feel like you experience those as being part of the fullness. It feels very Taoist, almost Gnostic to me in a way. The way you understand that for there to be such joy and beauty and pleasure and connection and community and bliss in life, there has to be a little bit of the other too. Right? So what we try to do is we try to go right up the center of this tree, right? The Ten of Cups. This card is called satiety. It's the fullness. And I think that in those moments of pure bliss, when you step back and appreciate the world and appreciate the life, and you just kind of you just kind of notice the miracles that are going on around you. I feel like in that moment, you wouldn't change anything, right? I feel like you have this underlying belief that the world is kind of perfect the way it is, even with all of our flaws, you know, even with all the kind of shadowy and negative stuff in the world. There's something beyond all that for you. Okay, I feel like you've got a real, authentic spiritual life. Yeah. I feel like you have a wide variety of interests. I say you know a lot about art and things. I feel like you know a lot about a lot of things. You know, I feel like you appreciate a lot of things, different food, different cuisines, different cultures, different art forms, different types of music. I bet I bet your playlist is all over the place when it comes to music, right? And I feel like you're always listening to music. Let's see what's going on with that. There's a lot of good water energy, and really this feels like life's just getting happier and happier, more and more joyful. And yeah, if we're at the bottom of the wheel, we really notice when things start to get better. It feels very obvious when that that wheel starts to turn a little bit. But what's in the background? Interesting. Chariot, not what I was expecting. There's a connection with your childhood and with your home. I don't know what your childhood was like, but I feel like it toughened you up at an early age. I feel like you had to mature quickly in your life, right? So I believe there was a struggle there. I think maybe even you left home at an early age, because I kind of feel that you kind of got on the road at a young, and this could be that you maybe you started your own family very young, maybe you started your career very young, but I feel like you were very young, and so it feels like you had to grow up fast. Yeah. And maybe that really gave you an appreciation that maybe you've struggled, and so you know what it's like to struggle, right? But you have this devotion to a higher principle, and I feel like it's some kind of a spiritual thing for you. It really is, and it may not be a religious thing for you. It may just be this connection to this invisible divine energy that we can't name, we can't really put a label on it, right? Let's see. Interesting, now we got the Death card. And maybe deity for you is the never-ending flux of the universe, the idea of change. You know, if we think of things as from that kind of Taoist perspective, we kind of are worshiping at the altar of change, death, right? That is very morbid, like it's supposed to be, right? The Death card is supposed to grip you. It's supposed to make you pay attention. It really should be called change or rebirth or transformation or something like this, but that lacks the grip that death does. But I feel like this is really the idea that nothing is ever static, nothing ever stays the same. Okay, so you're very much in harmony with the process of change on the spiritual plane, and I think very much the emotional plane. Okay, I think that you have a lot of different moods, and you appreciate all of them for what they are. You know, those kind of dark and shadowy or the negative mood, the bad moods, right? They have their certain value too, and they have their own kind of special beauty about them. Okay. The other thing I'm seeing with the Six of Cups is that because everything is always in flux, because life is a constant, just a swirling of energy, you know that these moments are so fleeting that you must hold on to them where you can, and you must appreciate them when you experience them, because they're going to be gone like that. And so we know that the wheel is going to keep turning. The wheel of Dharma, the wheel of time, whatever, is going to keep turning. And so when we get a Six of Cups, you better believe that we're going to enjoy it, that we're going to appreciate it, that we're going to see it and recognize it and immerse ourselves in that. I wonder also if with that Death card and that Chariot card, if there was some sort of, because to me it does feel like a loss or a separation. I don't know if you lost people when you were young, right? Some of us don't lose people until we get older. Some of us don't really experience that kind of a loss until we're already adults. I feel like you had that experience when you were young, okay? But I feel like you weren't scared by it, right? I feel like you weren't negatively affected by it. It almost like it gave you a deeper appreciation and a deeper understanding of life. Yeah. So anyway, Wheel of Fortune is, and then, oh, look, it got a lot of major arcana here today. Very interesting. If we think of you on this journey, in this chariot, your fortunes are changing, and I feel like the world is really opening up to you. I feel like we're experiencing really a significant moment of increase, right? I feel like it's a jackpot. I feel like you're kind of, this, if I had to say something about, winning the lottery, I'm not a gambling person, but if I had to say something about the lottery, this would be, yeah, I think this is it. I think that you've been working very hard for something. You've been devoted to something in your life, whether it's your spiritual path, but I think also in the physical realm. You've been devoted to something. And even when it seems like there are setbacks and failures and things are getting kind of worse, you've stayed optimistic. You said, I don't care, I know what's coming. You've been able to do it with a smile the whole time, right? And I think now, whatever this work is that you're doing, whether it's a job, a career, an artistic thing, if it's a spiritual thing, if it is something, maybe you're retired, maybe this is some other project you're involved with, whatever your passion is, whatever your work is right now, I feel like it is experiencing a huge expansion, right? A huge jackpot that I think is going to be pretty sudden. I think so far you've been making gradual progress, some setbacks, but then a little more progress, then some setbacks. I think this is going to be kind of a major thing, especially in the sense of, we think this is the Jupiter energy, right? This is expanding. This is the field of our experience getting larger. Well, what is the limit? Nothing. No limit. Limitless expansion. This is something happening for you, I'm going to say next 2 weeks. Something happening for you that is going to make you realize that there's no stopping. You can grow this thing as big as you want. Maybe it's a business. Maybe it's just this experience of joy. Maybe it's us taking this Six of Cups moment and making every day the best day of your life, right? There's no limit. So it's kind of like we're stretching time and space here. And that's what these two are doing, stretching time and space. So either realizing that the success, if it's a financial thing, has really no boundaries to it, or we're taking this infinite moment of bliss and pleasure and we're extending it, right, infinitely. And I feel like there's a lot of major arcana here. Really, really good. And the cup, the water energy too. It's really, this is a blessing. This is a miracle. Let's select the mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. It's going to go over here. Our very own Kelly Kapoor, right on top. We're not going to look at that card until the very end, okay? But it will tie everything together and it will give us the confirmation that we need. If you have a prediction, put it in the comments. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It's totally free and it really does help out the channel and I really do appreciate that. Let's take a look at your general energy now. On the path of the Serpent, we have the Seven of Wands. Yeah, you know what struggle is. You've had to struggle. And I think that for a long time it was kind of you against the world. And that might be, that might have, for some people, it may have really hardened your soul, right? Your heart. And maybe at one point we did have a bit of a hardened heart, where we had this armor on and we were in our chariot and we were driving, and we wouldn't let anybody in. We wouldn't let anything penetrate that armor, right? Because maybe you were still vulnerable. Maybe we were still growing and still, building our strength. And I feel like that's the Seven of Wands. The Seven of Wands is we're ready for any challenge. And it's kind of like, I'm a hammer, everything else is probably a nail. Okay? I feel like there's a transition here for you. I feel like something is really happening that's kind of making you realize that you can take this armor off, and that maybe we really can let people in. And I think you are. I think you're in the process of that. Like at the beginning, I said that you step back and you see your friends and your family, and you really do feel blessed, because you've taken the armor off, because you've allowed yourself to put your weapons down and be, and to feel and to receive those blessings, right? And so I think that this is something that we've already been involved with, but we have the Seven of Wands as your general energy now. So there's always a tendency to go back to this fortification, right? And I think we're being told, no, don't do that. Don't kind of like restrict ourselves here. Let's expand our field of experience. Let's expand our love. Let's expand the miracles and the blessing. Let's take this jackpot and really stretch it out and stretch time and space and really make this thing infinite, right? So rather than you being, it's you against the world, now it's kind of you are becoming the world, okay? But we have this card here for a reason. I think it's reminding us not to go back to that kind of fight mode. I think I kind of think that it's easy for you to go to fight mode, but it's more like you're defending something. You're not just out kind of causing trouble. You're defending something that is of value to you, right? Whether it's your own safety, your own soul, your own being, or if it's that of your loved ones, right? So there's that kind of you're very, very devoted to the people in your life. You really, really, truly are. Let's see what is in the position of the environment. Four of Wands. I knew we'd get the Four of Wands today for some reason. It's kind of what I was thinking about while I was doing the introduction. Because I feel like we have divine time and we have earthly time. Okay? And so I feel like we're trying to stretch this moment out, and we're trying to make this an infinite thing, and then we're trying to kind of get beyond time, get to the center of the wheel where we're kind of outside of time and space. But at the same time, we're also trying to establish something that is going to continue, So I feel like this is really a spiritual journey as well as an earthly journey for you. I feel like there is this larger arc of transformation, this kind of a larger like character arc for you, right? And I feel the Four of Wands is you kind of doing things in a very step-by-step way. It really is that we know we make a little bit of progress, and then we've got to just kind of step back, and then we make a little progress, and then we step back. It's not a linear, it's not a continual, it's not just a force moving forward. It's a cycle. It's a swaying kind of motion. It's a rocking back and forth that gets us the progress. And so with that being said, I feel that we got to be okay with a little bit of backsliding. It's all right, as long as your next push comes swiftly, we don't slide back too far. We got to catch ourselves, and then we make that push to get a little bit further forward. Okay, because we know there's a rhythm, there's a sway to life, and this feels really good. And I feel like this is also us focusing on those small things, focusing on those day-to-day experiences, those little moments that we can find in the day where we can have that bliss, we can recognize that miracle, and we can appreciate the world around us, right? This is a very, very interesting card. In some ways, this card is feeling as if there is a limit, feeling that there is. So we look at these, there are all these wheels. Look at all these wheels today. Wheels on the chariot, wheel. This is a circular, this is a wheel, wheel, wheel. All these circle symbols. Be on the lookout for circle symbols in your life. I think that is going to be a really prominent force for you right now. And it's the idea of the cycles. It's the linear time. It's time and space. It's the finite kind of 3D life. But then it also is showing us the infinite, right? So it's kind of it's both worlds. It's heaven and earth together, and especially the Four of Wands, because it's a four. So it represents the earthly realm, but it's also the circle. It's also the infinite, right? The infinite and the finite existing at the same time, right? And this is really a really magical reading for you. And I do feel, and I have to emphasize, there is this practical component where I feel like something that you've been committed to, and maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a family thing, it could be a business or whatever. Whatever you've been devoted to is receiving a really big influx of Jupiter energy. That expansive, nourishing and nurturing energy, the real prosperity coming with that Jupiter energy. It's really time for that kind of leveling up, okay? Maybe going from the bottom of the wheel directly to the top of the wheel. What is the difficulty that we see? Well, Three of Pentacles, not really a difficulty, but it shows what we have to, whoops, I don't want to reveal that card yet. The Three of Pentacles is the card called work, okay? And you're not afraid of hard work, okay? So it isn't really an obstacle, but this is the idea of having to juggle different things at the same time. And I like that we've got a three to a four here. In order to make the progress that we're trying to make in whatever realm, if this is relationships, if this is a business, if this is your career or your art, whatever it is, in order to make those incremental steps, to make that progress forward, we have to have the right, sort of the right ingredients, right? We have to be able to put the right amount of energy into the different places of our lives. So it really is about keeping the thing whole, keeping it smooth, keeping it very round, right? You don't want a square wheel. Keeping it very round so that it can travel as smoothly as possible, right? The picture of a square wheel. We're not going to make much progress there, right? So we know that we have to pay attention to the different aspects of our lives, okay? And I really think that with this water energy, that kind of emotional, intuitive, the really blissful and joyous, the interconnected, the bonds between people, your sense of community, I feel like that is getting a lot of focus for you right now. That is where you're putting a lot of your attention. The Three of Pentacles is reminding us that we've got to put our attention equally into other areas so that our life doesn't get, lopsided, right? And that might be the difficult thing. It might be that we get so caught up in this moment, in this blissful moment, that we kind of forget about other things, that we get very immersed in this. And it's hard to go back to like what we were doing, to the work at hand, the kind of mundane work, let's say. It's hard to really come out of that almost spiritual ecstasy and get back to just kind of doing the manual labor, doing the dirty work on this plane, right? So there's a reminder of that. Let's look at one more card. Five of Pentacles. This is really going to change your life. Okay, I feel like the next 2 weeks are going to be extremely important for you. I feel like there is going to be a lot of distractions. There's going to be a lot of stuff for you to do that's going to take some of your focus away from this, I don't know what to call this experience, from this watery energy, right? From this maybe more social, maybe more focused on emotion, more focused on how we feel and our the way that we are connected with other people, right? There's going to be like a lot of work to do, a lot of business stuff to do. I almost feel that with this horizontal flow of energy, expanding into this kind of infinite universe here, that there's going to be a lot of like packing to do. I feel as if we have to make a lot of changes in our physical environment. Okay, and this is it's kind of a strange card to end with, because this is the card of worry. This is the card of there's so much stuff changing in my environment. I don't know what to make of it. Well, luckily we have that water, and we've got that Six of Cups. Okay, so I feel like even in all of this change that's going on around you, you're smiling, because you know that things are changing for the better. You know that this is you getting rid of old stuff and bringing in new stuff, building things up bigger and better and stronger. This is you, you have to disrupt your life if you're going to move to, a bigger place, or you're going to move to where you really want to live, right? So it's kind of like an invocation of this chaos in order to really level up our lives. We've got to empty out the drawers and pack up the boxes, and there's going to be just junk and tape and boxes and things everywhere. Our house will be in just chaos, right? But there's a reason for it. There's a reason why we're going through all of this, because you're leveling up, because you're ascending to what's going to be a better place for you. Yeah. So this is really, really good. And I kind of, it almost seems backwards, right? That there should first be the chaos, and then there should be all this joy and bliss and this feeling of fullness. But I kind of feel like Spirit's showing you, look, this is what you're going to have. Let's just be ready to work through this difficult time to get all of that, right? That maybe we're climbing up this ladder, and yeah, it's going to be a struggle. It's going to take a lot of focus. It's going to redirect our energy. So we got fire, earth, and earth. Well, over here, we just really had water surrounded by this divine energy. And of course, we want to just stay here and stay blissed out, right? And so maybe this is kind of showing us the end result, and then showing us how to get there, okay? And it maybe is going to disrupt life a little bit, but we think of this idea of, let's say you win the jackpot, right? That sounds kind of scary, right? It sounds like, oh, I'm going to love it. But you imagine you get all of this money, and then you got to think about a million other things. It really is going to uproot your life. It's really going to turn your life upside down. And I think people don't really realize that. It's kind of like the people who are overnight successes, the people who suddenly come into a lot of money, tend to kind of have a bit of a freak out with it, and it doesn't always work out the right way, right? And so I think Spirit's trying to kind of get you ready for that, to show you that, we're going to have to prioritize. We're going to have to make sure we stay organized. We're going to have to think in little steps, not just these big kind of amazing goals all at once. We got to think small, and we got to work our way and build our way up. But I do feel like there's a sudden increase for you. This Jupiter energy, very, very promising. Let's look at that mystery card, though. Yeah, I'm curious about this one. I'm thinking a 9 or a 10 of cups, a 9 or a 10 of pentacles. If you have a prediction, put it in the comments. A 9 or a 10 of wands. I didn't say that one. We got a 9 of wands here. And this gives us the fire energy over here. Okay? This is kind of the culmination of this, right? The 9 of wands is your strength. It's your ability to endure. Okay? And it's really saying, and now I really believe that this is kind of showing us like what's going to happen, and this is how it comes about, okay? Because I feel like it really is, it's something that you're working very hard for. It's kind of that we have to endure a lot of challenges. I think you have already endured a lot of challenges. And I think that we have to continue working very, very hard to have this kind of prosperity. And once we get this prosperity, we're still going to have to work very, very, very hard. Okay? And we see that over here. But I think the secret about the 9 of The Nine of Wands here is kind of saying, look, maybe you've endured enough. This looks like somebody who's been standing at that gate or along that fence for a long time, has really been fighting the good fight for a long, long time, and is pretty beat up. Maybe this is the universe saying, it's time for you to put that wand down, put that staff down, and go enjoy things now. This is somebody, to me, who's been at the bottom of the wheel, between the rubber and the road for a long time. And I think Spirit's trying to say that it's the divine time for something else for you. Okay? And that really makes me feel good. We're going to do an extended reading. If you want to stick around, there's a link up top. There's one down below. New readings for Virgo every Tuesday and Saturday, 6 a.m. Chicago time. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It is totally free. Leave a comment. Let me know where in the world you're watching from, especially if you're a first-time viewer. I want to welcome you. Thank you for being here. I want you all to know that you're the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you. And we're all in this together.